Hey guys, it's Joe Tommaso from the 15 Minutes with True Crime podcast. In our current state of affairs with all of the events surrounding COVID-19, I hope that you, all of you, my listeners, and your families are doing well and are healthy. I know that some areas are getting hit worse than others, and my thoughts and prayers go out to everyone. I know that with all of this staying at home and the social distancing, it's tough on everyone, but I want you all to hang in there. All of us are strong, and it's during these times that we all come together and show just how strong we can be. We will make it through this. This edition is the first of a two-part interview with Samuel Redmond, also known as inmate number V67481. Sam is currently serving 2 life without parole sentences plus 150 years consecutive for 2 murders he was involved with when he was 21 years old. He is 42 years old now and has served half of his life in the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. Sam was a gang member, and his crime was gang-related. After all was said and done, 2 young lives were taken away, and multiple families were left asking why. If you like this show, please click the like and subscribe buttons and give a thumbs up, and then also click the notification button if you want to be notified whenever I put up new content. You can also help me keep this show going and help make it better by donating to paypal.me/Joe Tommaso. That's paypal.me/JoeTomaso. Also, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, or if there's anyone you might want us to interview, please email us at insidetherazorwire@gmail.com. Again, that email is insidetherazorwire@gmail.com. If you're a company or manufacturer that would like to support the show or would like us to feature or review your product, please email us as well. We can also be snail mailed at P.O. Box 162, West Haven, Connecticut 06516. And now, without further ado, here is Sam Redmond and his story.
Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
Hello, Joe.
Hey, Sam, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing all right. I couldn't get a hold of you last week because the phones weren't working over here.
Oh, that's what I was going to ask. I thought maybe because of the whole coronavirus thing, you guys might have been on lockdown.
No, well, the prison actually gave everyone a free phone call on Thursday.
Okay.
So there were so many people trying to use the phone, it was impossible for me to get on them. And because the overwhelming number of people, the phone system was overloaded, wasn't working real well.
Stupid question. I know Donovan's a pretty big institution. How many people would you say are at the facility?
Total facility with all 6 yards, I'd say about 6,000.
Yeah, I think it would have been hard to get to the phone.
Yeah.
Okay, so we had talked last week, and what you were going to do was basically share your story this week.
Yeah, I actually had an idea. I mean,
okay.
I wrote something out.
Okay.
I was wondering if it would be all right to read it to you. It's about my life, and it's about what happened in my case, and maybe you want to ask some questions after that. It's only 2 pages.
That'll work.
That'd be okay with you?
That'll work.
Okay. All right, whenever you're ready.
We're all set. Just again, say your full name and where you're calling from, and then go from there.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to start now. My name is Samuel Redmond. I'm calling from R.J. Donovan, San Diego, California. I got a LWOP sentence, and this is my 20th year in prison. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. On February 4th, 2000, I was a person in a lot of turmoil, and my life was a mess. I didn't realize it at the time, but I was really hurting on the inside due to all my childhood trauma. At 14, I started using meth to cope with my feelings of abandonment and the murders of 2 of my friends. At 17, I also started drinking to help me cover up my true feelings of the guilt I had when Mr. Rios, my friend's dad, was murdered while saving my life. When I was 18, my cousin Henry and 3 other friends died in a car accident. All those losses broke me. I had survivor's guilt and didn't even know it. Then 3 years later, at age 21, I found myself fighting for my life when 2 of my friends tried to kill me by putting a gun under my chin. This happened not that long before Michael and Jessica's murders. All these experiences led me to Julian, who was my sister's brother-in-law. He had just been released from prison at the time, And at the time, I felt safe around Julian because he would always tell others to leave me alone. So on February 4th, 2000, I was with Julian and two other guys. One of the guys had just been released from youth authority, so we had decided to party and try to find him a girl. As the night wore on, we ended up on Michigan Street, where we were hanging out outside. A group of kids walked toward us, and words were exchanged. Someone yelled out, "This is the West Side. Where are you from?" A fight broke out, and everyone ran, chasing the group of kids, except for me and another guy. We stayed by my truck, and I lost sight of everyone. Soon, one of the guys came running back and said, "Let's go get Julian." We got into my truck and drove about 75 feet, and that is when I saw Julian running back with a gun in his hand. I didn't hear gunshots, and I didn't even know what had happened. As I started to drive away, someone sees a girl, that's Jessica, standing in the road crying. Julian told me to stop and tells one of the guys in the back seat to tell her to get in the car, and she does. She was crying, and all she was doing was asking, "Why? Why?" I then drove to some apartments, and everyone got out but Jessica. I told Julian I wanted to leave, but he said no, that I was going to drive them. I didn't know what to do, so I went along. I was scared, especially when I saw that Julian had a gun. Everyone got back into my truck, and we drove for a while until I was running out of gas. Julian told me to stop at a gas station, and I did. But I don't remember clearly what had happened there. Sometime while I was driving around, I figured out that Michael, one of the kids who approached us on Michigan Street, had been beaten and shot, and that Jessica had witnessed his murder. Julian told me to keep driving, and we ended up in a remote location where Julian told me to stop again, and we all got out except for Jessica. Julian told the other two guys to get Jessica out of the truck, and they started pushing and pulling her out of the truck, and when she came out, she fell, and I tried to help her up, and when I let go of her, that was when Julian shot her. And that's what I had written so far, Joe.
So can you basically, I mean, this sounds like you guys were out there, you were basically hanging out, you hooked up with somebody who came out of, prison, and then he was in a gang, correct?
Yeah, he was from a gang. This was my sister's husband's brother. And this was shortly after, like I said in my letter, that two of my friends actually, they put a gun under my chin. They took me in. They convinced me to go smoke some meth with them in a garage. Mm-hmm. And it turned out that they were upset at me for a couple months ago. I refused to drive them home because I was drunk. Mm-hmm. So as they had the gun under my chin, they were just yelling at me, telling me why I was going to die. I was going to die because I wouldn't drive them home because I was too drunk to drive.
Right.
So I was going to die because of that. Yeah.
Thank God you didn't die that night. You wound up getting involved with all these other people. And I mean, what happened? Did they finally obviously let you go that night?
After that, after Jessica was murdered, I drove back and we had beer in the back. And from when we got to the apartments, I wanted to leave. I didn't want to be there. Mm-hmm. I just didn't know how to get out of that situation. So I just started pounding beers and it's sad now, 20 years later, I wasn't thinking about Jessica.
Right.
I was thinking about myself, and I didn't know what to do. So I just started drinking, getting totally drunk. And after she was killed, I guess I was driving real erratic because I was really getting wasted, and they wanted me to let them drive. And I wouldn't let them drive. I was like, "No, fuck you guys. I'm driving. This is my truck." Mm-hmm. And, from that day, there was always a gang member around me. I was never left alone until I got arrested a couple months later.
Sam, I'm going to ask you, I mean, I'm sure I know what the answer is, but the guys that were killed, as well as Jessica, do you feel remorse? I mean...
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Oh, yes. His name was Michael. Michael and Jessica, and they were both 14 years old. And I started feeling remorse as soon as I got sober. I haven't done drugs since I was arrested, and my whole time in the county jail, I couldn't believe that I allowed this to happen to Jessica. Like I said, I didn't know what was going to happen then. These kids weren't a part of anything. It was instantaneous. This kid came walking up, asking, where are you from? He shouldn't have to have died because of words.
Mm-hmm.
Shouldn't have. And I feel I'm responsible. Although I didn't pull the trigger and I didn't actually kill anyone, I brought those guys there. I drove them to that murder scene. And if it wasn't for me being a drug addict and wanting to feel secure and safe, I feel that Jessica and Michael would still be alive today.
What would you tell someone if you saw a kid that was your age or younger now, knowing what happened with you? What would you tell them if they got into a situation like this?
At any opportunity, if they were in the exact same situation as me, at any opportunity, just run. Run away. Try to get somewhere safe. I mean, it sounds silly saying it, but if I would have done that, I know at least Jessica would still be alive. I don't know about Michael.
In all honesty, it doesn't sound silly. It sounds like you didn't know what to do back then, and you just, I don't want to say followed the leader, because it sounds like you were scared. You followed what they told you because you were afraid. And that's why I'm asking you, what would you tell somebody now? Because now hindsight's always 20/20. You know now to tell somebody else in the same position to run, to get out of there.
That. I would hope if I had a chance before a kid got into that situation and just talking to them, if they're hanging out with gang members, I was never jumped into a gang in the neighborhood. I consider that I was a gang member because I was hanging out with them and I knew they were gang members. So I'm just as guilty as them. I knew what they were doing, and it doesn't make a difference if I was jumped into a neighborhood. I am just as guilty as them. If I see a kid and I see them hanging out with gang members or doing drugs, there's always a reason behind that. Like, my reason to hang out with gang members was I wanted to feel safe because I was almost killed previously. I had a lot of stuff going on in my life. And so if a young kid is hanging out with gang members or hanging out with kids that are doing drugs, there's a reason why. And there's no shame in talking about it with somebody, your teachers, your church. If your parents aren't there for you, just talk to someone else's parents. Just reach out. And it's okay. It's okay. I mean, I wish I would have been able to talk to other people. I was a trouble. Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, you're saying it now because, like I said, hindsight's always 20/20. So these kids need to the listeners, what Sam is telling you, you guys need to take this in and really listen and try to process this, because he's living this experience now. You're doing life without parole, or is it double life without parole right now?
I'm doing 2 life without the possibility of parole sentences plus 50 years to life.
Okay, so he's in there, and for reality, most likely Sam is never going to see the outside of those prison walls again. And on top of that, he lives with the fact that this young girl and this young kid are no longer here. And even though he wasn't directly responsible, he still feels responsible because he was part of what happened. And he's trying to tell you guys, don't join a gang. Don't get involved with the gang. If something happens, like he said, talk to somebody. You want to get away from that life before you even get into it.
Yes, exactly. Talking is the key thing. That's one of my coping strategies now. And it's like I said, it may seem funny to some people, but talking is the answer. Don't ever hold anything in. Whatever you're feeling, let it out. Cry. I'm 42 years old in a prison full of murderers, kidnappers, rapists, and everything, and I still cry my eyes out. I feel for Jessica and Michael, their families. I feel for my family, and I lost my mom this last year, and I feel like because I came to prison that I had big impact in her dying early. So I feel all those things. I think about Jessica and Michael and their family. Share it.
Sam, I'm going to ask you, when you just shared with me that you lost your mom, were you able to go to the hospital and see her?
No, last year, my mom passed away May 29th at 5:10 p.m. this last year, and I was actually at work, and 7 days...
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
7 days before my mom passed, a counselor came and got me at work and said I needed to call home. And so the prison allowed me to call home, and I got to talk to my sister, and they told me that they brought Mom home. They discharged her from the hospital. She had complications from Alzheimer's.
Mm-hmm.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Joe, I can call you back if that's okay.
Yep. If you want, why don't you call me right back, and we'll record another segment of this.
Okay, I'll call you right back.
Okay.
Okay.
Hey, everybody, and thanks for listening. That's the end of this edition. Part 2 will be out there by Monday or Tuesday at the latest. Please stay well and healthy, and each of you keep your heads up. Please support this show either by clicking the thumbs up button and subscribing, or donate to paypal.me/Joe Tomaso. Again, that's paypal.me/JOETOMASO. Also, let us know what you think, or if there's someone you want us to interview. We're only an email away at insidetherazorwire@gmail.com. Again, that's insidetherazorwire@gmail.com. Thanks again for listening. Stay well, stay safe.